What actually happens when time runs out in the end of a round and you're still playing in a game? Well, the answer actually varies depending on what kind of event you're playing in. Today we're going to be taking a look at exactly what happens when time is called during the end of match procedure.
Judge's Corner is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the best online retailer for Magic the Gathering singles and sealed product, and GatheringMagic.com, your place to explore the game. Now it's time for Judge's Corner.
Players, that is time in the round. Active player, finish your turn, and there are 5 additional turns.
Most events will have some sort of time limit for the length of a match. The store has to close at some point. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. The minimum time limit for any match is 40 minutes. The recommended time limit is 50 minutes. And there is no maximum, but you may find a time limit imposed if your game starts to impact things like a convention hall closing. In the quarter and semifinals, the recommended time limit is 90 minutes. And the finals has no time limit. If you're not done playing your match and time is ended, then we go into something called end of match procedure. For normal constructed games and Swiss events, you'll have 5 additional turns as soon as time is called, with the current player continuing their turn as turn 0. So when time is called, if Adam is in the middle of combat, then he'll be turn 0, and Natalie will then be turn 1 after that, followed by turn 2 for Adam, turn 3 for Natalie, turn 4 for Adam, and then the 5th turn to Natalie once again. If we end the 5th turn and no one has won the game, then that single game will be a draw. So if both players have won one game and then drew the third due to time, then their match ends in a draw. This is the same if the first game of the match was a draw and the second game ends in a draw due to time. But if one player is up a game by the end of the 5th turn, then that player wins the match with a record of 1 win, 0 losses, and 1 draw. Once time is called, that's it. You don't begin another game, even if you're in the middle of shuffling up to begin another game. The only games that play through the 5 additional turns are games that are currently in progress. And if you haven't actually kept your opening hand, well, you haven't started playing Magic yet. However, what happens if you draw one of your games but time isn't actually called? Sometimes we naturally draw matches. Perhaps you're both at 1 loss and 1 win, and someone earthquakes for 20. Well, the winner of the match would still be the first person with 2 wins. So shuffle up and give it another shot, so long as there's time on the clock. And if you end up winning or losing the match, don't forget to record the draw. It counts towards your tiebreakers. One question I've seen before is, what happens if I take an extra turn during those 5 additional turns? Well, those players may be Temporal Masters, but they're not Masters of Turns. The extra turns will count towards the normal 5 additional turns, and technically one player could end up taking all 5 extra turns, say if they got lucky with Rail Zark's Ultimate. Taking an extra turn during the 5th and final turn of additional turns will be, well, rather lackluster, as the match ends there regardless. Another question I've seen a lot, especially at larger events that offer this, is what happens if I draw in a single elimination event, where draws just aren't possible? In events where there is no time limit, where draws occur, players will simply keep shuffling up and playing again until one player has secured 2 wins. But in tournaments that do have a time limit, when time runs out, we follow a special set of rules called sudden death. You follow the normal end of match procedure with 5 additional turns. But then, at the end of the 5th turn, if a winner hasn't been determined, we take a look and see if anyone is currently up a game, and that player wins the match. If both players are tied for the same amount of game wins or losses, then we take a look and see whoever has the highest life total, and that player wins the match. But if both players are tied for the same life total, then the game carries on with a new state-based action that says, if a player does not have the highest life total, he or she loses the game.
There you are, gentlemen. There's your slip. Okay.
Sometimes rules questions can take a while, or you might have a deck that's checked by a judge. In those cases, judges might issue a time extension, giving you a little extra time for your match. At the end of the round, if you have a time extension, you play on until your time extension has expired, at which point you'll follow the normal end of match procedure.
Grand Prix players, new pairings are up.
At competitive events, sometimes a draw is even as bad as a loss, especially towards the end of the tournament. In those cases, you or your opponent might think it's best that either of you get the win, regardless of how. Choosing a random method to determine the winner of the match, like rolling a die, flipping a coin, or even revealing cards from the top of your deck to see who would have won, are great examples of improperly determining a winner, and such actions compromise the integrity of the entire tournament. If your opponent makes a suggestion and you don't immediately call over a judge, Both of you will likely suffer the same penalty if caught. Well, it appears we've run out of time. I'm sorry, but we're going to need to turn in this video's match result slip. So without further ado, if you have any questions, make sure to send us an email at judgescorner@gatheringmagic.com or leave a comment below, and myself or someone else will be happy to get back to you. Until next time, make sure to shuffle thoroughly, play at a reasonable pace, and have fun.